It's pretty risky, super expensive to start doing product development. And so I sort of hacked this. I essentially called all my customers, my potential customers up, and I said, what chest binder are you using right now? And they would tell me and they would rate it. I said, rate it for me between 1 and 10. Let's say they gave it a 4. Then I'd say, okay, I promise you I can find you a binder that is better than a 4. And I would go out, I bought every single binder on the market. I rated them for comfortability, breathability, size, price, and created my own sort of little matrix of everything on the market. And then I looked at what they had, I tried to improve it, and I resold them a binder. Or essentially I gave them a binder for free and I sold them a service. And through that process, I not only made the customers a little bit happier because maybe they shifted from a 4 to an 8, but I also really started to understand what was missing because, yeah, a 4 to an 8 is good, but how do I get them to a 10? And then I started to really hone in on, okay, if I build something and invest in product development, I know exactly what it's for, how to get people from an 8 to a 10, and ultimately spin on a real problem that needs to be solved.
And so you had these 100 people that you're talking to, and did you have a spreadsheet and there had all these reasons, like person A gives you, this is why it's a 4 out of 10, person B, this is why it's a 4 out of 10, so on and so forth. And then you were just like mixing and matching and finding out like what the sort of overlap in the Venn diagram was.
Exactly. A table.
Your table makes the world go round. And so those 100 people, you said paid ads. Were they all paid ads or were some of them direct people that you knew? Or
I think for those first customers, they were all paid ads. I really wanted them to be at least 1 to 2 to 3 people removed from me because I wanted to understand if it was worth me spending my time on this and if it was something that people really wanted. I think it's tough to interview people that you know and that care about you around a problem. You want to make sure that it's a legit thing to solve.
Yeah, that makes sense. How did you find that person? Is that like a service or did you just ask someone that you were working with conduct these interviews, or how did that work?
Yeah, we just paid someone through a freelancer through Prehype. I think they're an actor actually, so just someone that can read a script.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
And then, so once you had the Airtable, how many key points did you hone in on to then make the first for them binder?
Yeah, so then if you think about it, then I've sent a bunch of binders to, I think, 50 or so people. So I have this Airtable now of all the problems, which, by the way, I think I bucketed them into 4 or 5 issues, so not a lot. And I checked myself and said, okay, is it worth me making a new version of these, or is this the product? Is this service the product, right? Because clearly there's an education piece. It's not easy to find out what binder could fit your body. And at this point, my database is telling me exactly what I can say. This person's this height, they're this type of body shape. This is what they're looking for, and I could probably get them I could find them a binder on the market that was a 6 to 7. I ultimately decided with a bit of customer feedback that a 6 or a 7 is fine, but we can make it a 10, and we should make it a 10. The biggest thing was that people couldn't breathe in it for a long period of time, and that felt to me like a sticky enough issue that we should solve it with a new product. And then with that database, I had all the information I needed to go to a designer and say, this is what I'm missing, how do we make it?
And so that first designer, did you find some like bespoke small outfit that would make you a limited run, or how did you get the sort of version 1 product made?
Yeah, I read in a magazine that Misty Copeland, who's this amazing black ballerina, made a line of bras for her to dance in. I figured if she could create a bra that holds her chest in place and she can clearly breathe in it because she's dancing in it, that feels close enough to a binder. So I found the designer that did that and went to her and said, hey, you made this thing, could you make something that compresses the chest and still allows breath? Is it possible? And she said, yeah, it's possible. So she connected me with a manufacturer in New York. We all worked together to create limited-ish run, not as limited as maybe I'd like, but limited enough. We'd raised a little bit of capital by then as well because I'd validated the idea, and they made a small run for me. And to be honest, we still work with the manufacturer today.
It wasn't like you used this small outfit and then shifted to some...
No, they've scaled with us, which is really rare and interesting. A big part of our growth was in the pandemic, and so we had to figure out how do you scale with no international supply chain.
That makes sense. And how did you figure out the number for that first order? Or was it just, we have a budget and we're going to get however many we get with the budget?
A bit of that. A bit of we have a budget, let's see how many we can get. And also because I'd raised a bit of money, but not really enough, I pre-sold, or at least I took a deposit for our first run of binders. And so they were all sold before they even hit the shelves.
Okay. And then did you go back to the 100 people that you had sampled with and were you like, rate this?
Correct. Yeah.
Were you just on, you must have been like on pins and needles waiting for the review to get back. I hope it isn't a 4 out of 10.
I know. I was like, it better be a 10 or a 9. Yeah, exactly.
I assume they came back like, this is way better or...
Yeah. Yeah, we had overwhelming, amazing feedback that was like super emotional, to be honest. People were calling us, crying, we've changed their lives. It was really intimate, which really spurred me on for the next stage. I was like, okay, we got to do this. It's important and it's genuinely making a difference.